Right. More than you ever wanted to know about 1930s geology. Yeah, that was Ancestry and Classification of Soil from the Oregon Archive and ultimately the Mogul Brothers collection. Excuse me. And so that was kind of an educational film, more anecdotal than real straight up educational films. The educational films were kind of in this weird state in the 30s. It was only after World War II that they really started to take off. An exception to that would be Irpy and Eastman teaching films. But some of these were kind of in a weird state. So maybe this was more educational than some of the others. Like some of the animal ones and some of the travel ones tend to be more anecdotal and less informational. Anyways, did I say I'm Skip Elsheimer and that this is the AV Geeks Lunchtime streaming show? I can't remember. I need to write that down to have a little checkbox. Anyways, we watch old 16mm films, and I'm happy to show you what we got. So behind me is a telecine, which we use to transfer film to video live and then pump it with a series of pumps and tubes into the internet, into YouTube. It is a messy process, but we all gain when that happens. So the film I have set up is actually a really interesting niche film. And by niche, I mean this was made for a very specific population, specifically psychologists and psychiatrists. This is Giving the Rorschach Test. Enjoy.
In 1921, Dr. Herman Rorschach discovered that the way a person reacts to ink blots reflects the kind of person he is. Based upon this discovery, Dr. Rorschach introduced a new method of psychological testing.
Hello. Won't you come in?
Hello.
Won't you sit down?
Thank you.
Cigarette?
Yes. Thank you.
Do you know anything about the Rorschach test?
Oh, I saw the cards once. Will it affect my answers?
I don't think so. I'm going to show you these ink blots. Tell me what they look like. Tell me everything you see.
The administration of the test varies with the subject's age and background. Some must be gently encouraged, and some must be tactfully restrained from talking too much.
Well, this might be a bat. A strange kind of bat, though. Is that right?
It's fine. There are no right or wrong answers.
I guess that's all I can find in this one.
When you see anything else, take your time.
I'm not sure. This might be a Halloween mask. And over here, looks like the figure of a person. Is that enough?
Well, the number of answers is not important. Let's try the next one, shall we?
I turn it around?
Yes, if you wish.
Well, these might be two Scotty dogs. They must have had a fight. There's blood dripping from their paws. I don't know what the red is up here. Am I supposed to look at all of it, or just in parts?
Anywhere at all. Just tell me everything you see.
I guess that's all. These look like two waiters. They're bowing to one another. And this might be a butterfly between them.
After the subject has seen the 10 cards, the inquiry begins. Interpretation depends largely on how the response was formed. What part of the block was used? Did color, shading, and sense of movement contribute to the formation of the response? The examiner tries to find out by discreet questioning.
I'd like to go over some of the things you saw to be sure I understand them. You said this might be a bat. What makes it look like one?
It's got wings sticking out on the side, and a body in the center.
What made it seem like a strange kind of a bat?
It's got holes in it, and the edges seem torn.
And what suggests the Halloween mask?
The spaces cut out for the eyes and the mouth.
Show me how you see the person.
Here she is, right here in the middle. The hands held up as though she were praying. Well, here are the Scotties.
Show me how you see them.
They have their paws together. It's just part of the body. Back part seems to be missing.
Any other reason they look like Scotties?
Well, they're dark and fuzzy. Their heads are square. They sure do look bloody.
Tell me more about the waiters.
They seem to be bowing to one another, very politely. They've got on high, stiff collars and high heels.
And why do you think of them as waiters?
Well, they're in formal dress. Black tuxedos.
What suggests the butterfly to you?
Right here, the way the wings are shaped.
If it were just an outline, would it still be a butterfly?
I guess so. But I've seen the bright red in tropical collections. I see something else here now. Looks like two monkeys. They have long tails.
The third phase is testing the limits. In some cases, the responses may not have been given in the usual or popular way. This subject responded to shading in card 2, but not in card 6.
I'm going to give these cards to you again. I would like you to look through them and see if you can find one which may look like either a fur rug or an animal skin.
Well, the Scotties here look like furry animals.
Can you find another? I'd have the heavier fur.
And this one seems a little darker.
That's fine. Goodbye.
Thank you.
You have seen how a Rorschach test is given. Here are some questions to think about. Why does the examiner remain passive during the first part of the test? What is the function of the inquiry? Why did she test the limits? What are your reactions to the giving of the test?
So I don't know if you noticed that the film was actually had color elements to it. They show up a little bit in there, and so this was printed mostly black and white, but then there was some color in there. Kind of interesting when something like that happens. And also, it's just really fascinating. This is a how-to. This is how to administer the test, and what to write down for later. And it's just fascinating to see that. And supposedly the Rorschach folks are very, they consider their ink blots to be very proprietary. So if they were actually looking on the internet, they might actually say, like, no, you got to take that down because you have a copyrighted or trademarked ink blot. All right. What do we got? Oh, yeah. Let's learn about being a restaurant operator and whether that is a viable career choice. Enjoy.
Whether it's a hot dog at the county fair or a full-course dinner at the Ritz, there's no denying that people like to eat. Food is the high spot in our daily lives, whether it's aboard a speeding train or in our favorite lunchroom round the corner. For man must eat, and therein lies the secret of the growth and popularity of one of our biggest industries, the restaurant. Here is a business employing over 2 million persons and doing over $2 billion worth of business annually, all because people have to eat, like to eat, and don't like the work of fixing their own food. But not all people like the same food, served in the same way and at the same price. Therefore, we have different types of restaurants, offering different types of service to meet varying tastes. First is the table service type. This group provides waiter or waitress service. It offers a more dignified atmosphere and extensive menu than that found in other type restaurants. Appointments and service in this group are generally of a standard comparable to those in a good, well-regulated home. A variation of this group is the coffee shop. Here the tables are generally left uncovered, and the method of service is more informal. Also in this class is the tea room. This provides waitress service and emphasizes choice foods, daintily prepared and served in attractive surroundings. The second type of restaurant is the self-service group. Best known among these is the cafeteria. Here the customers furnish their own service by making their selection from foods displayed at a serving counter and carrying it themselves to convenient tables. This style of restaurant offers the distinct advantage of speed and economy. The third type includes counter service. Foremost among these is the corner drugstore. This type of service is an outgrowth from the serving of ice cream. Here the customer may secure various sandwiches or luncheon snacks quickly and economically. Also included in this group is the luncheonette. This is a style patterned after the drugstore soda fountain, but with a somewhat more extensive menu and better appointments. Here, too, speed and economy prevail. The fourth and most recently developed type is the drive-in or curb service type. Here the customer need not even leave his car to enjoy the tempting varieties offered by this type service. This is a restaurant, soda fountain, and picnic all rolled into one. Its location is determined by the flow of automobile traffic to provide a constant source of business. But regardless of the style or type of restaurant, they all have one thing in common, and that is the serving of food. This must be prepared on the premises. So a restaurant is a factory as well as a retail and service institution. Here in its kitchen or workshop must be manufactured all the goods sold to its customers. This is its production line, hurrying to keep pace with a hungry world. But this is no ordinary business of assembly, for here we are dealing with perishables. Many raw materials must be obtained daily and kept under refrigeration until used. Furthermore, it must be handled under the strictest sanitary requirements, for here rests a great public responsibility and a private reputation. This is a department for skilled and careful workers, for on their ability depends much of the success and future of the organization. But there is more than food and service needed for success. Behind the smooth, efficient running restaurant is the manager. On his shoulders rests the responsibility of the success or failure of the business. If the restaurant is large, his duties are only supervisory. If the restaurant is small, he may be the manager, cook, and waiter all in one. But large or small, he must have a working knowledge gained only by experience with each and every job over which he has control. He must have perception to gauge his customers' desires and know when their wants are being satisfied. He must have knowledge of food in order to plan menus and understand what constitutes efficient buying. He must have bookkeeping ability to know where he stands in his accounts. He must be a man of tact and diplomacy to handle petty disputes and grievances that often arise within an organization. He must have all these attributes and more if he is to be truly successful. For the urge behind the daily flow of customers to his establishment is produced by his foresight, his planning, and his initiative. Managing a restaurant takes more than just being good in some one phase of it. Take, for instance, Aunt Martha. All her friends told her she was the best cook they knew. She made the best pies, she made the best puddings, and her muffins, Well, anyway, Aunt Martha decided to go into the restaurant business. So, she rented a vacant store, the first one she found, got busy and cleaned it up, got new furniture and spent plenty of money decorating the place, and soon Aunt Martha was ready for business. But business wasn't ready for Aunt Martha. The fact that the store happened to be on a quiet side street hadn't occurred to her, and neither had the fact that she didn't know how to plan her meals economically. All in all, poor Aunt Martha wasn't making a go of it, and the worst of it was she didn't even know why. The fact was, Aunt Martha was no manager, even if she was the best cook in town. And the sad truth is that her experience is typical of 50% of the people who start their own restaurants. Think of it, that so many failures should occur, all because too many Aunt Marthas rush in with no real preparation for the job. Successful management takes a lot more than just knowing how to cook. It takes the knowledge and forethought of a businessman, coupled with a thorough understanding of each of the many phases that go to make up the operation of the restaurant business. This all takes training, lots of training. Training that cannot be acquired by the hit-and-miss process of unguided experience. But where can one get the necessary help to fit him for the work? Nearly 100 vocational schools located throughout the country offer specialized training in the field. In addition, special restaurant administration programs have been inaugurated at leading universities. Some of these programs even lead to a master's degree in business administration. But perhaps you're saying you're not interested in managerial work. Perhaps it is someone specialized field like cooking or dietetics that holds your interest. Here again, training is just as important as it is in an executive capacity. The knowledge of foods and their preparation is a science in itself, and only by a thorough understanding of what constitutes a balanced meal can one hope to realize the better jobs offered by our eating places. Special courses in high schools, vocational schools, and colleges are offered to help one in securing and maintaining better positions in large restaurants, hotels, and hospitals. These courses include not only the preparation of food, but its economical purchase as well. This does not mean buying provisions of poor quality. It means buying the right quantities at the right prices. The buyer for any large restaurant is a key person whose services are in demand, for much of the success of his establishment is due to his judgment. Then there's the job of being a hostess or a head waiter. This too requires careful training. Such persons are the restaurant's direct contact with its patrons. It is through them that the customers form their opinions. Their importance is never underestimated by a successful restaurant. Their jobs are good ones, but it has taken training and personality to get them and keep them. But no matter what one's individual preference may be as to the type of restaurant work he wants to do, he should first have a genuine liking for food and people, for this is the very foundation of his aptitude. If you have this natural inclination, plus the proper training and willingness to work, the restaurant business offers many opportunities and a promising future as your life work.
Fascinating film, and that came out, I believe that was pre... Let's see if I can figure that out. No, it won't let me figure it out. I think that was actually post World War II, or it might have been running concurrent to World War II. But it's interesting to see the career paths related to food service, because we are seeing right now that some of the jobs offered by food service are not really sustainable. They don't allow someone who works a full-time job at a fast food restaurant to actually pay the bills to live in the town where the fast food restaurant is. And so people are picking and choosing. And some people are picking something in the gig economy, like with Uber or Uber Eats or some other thing, instead of working for about the same amount of money with a set schedule with a manager that they may or may not like. So I think that's what we're seeing right now, why a lot of food service is kind of struggling. Let's see. What time is it? All right. What do I got set up? I got another film on the telecine, I think. No, I don't. Keep track of things, Skip. Keep track of things. This is a fascinating film made by the Office of Civil Defense. Excuse me. And this is about managing a public fallout shelter. Essentially, they were trying to get people to have their own personal fallout shelters in basements and places like that, but also they had to maintain some public ones, especially in places like cities, towns, etc., so that if an atomic bomb dropped, then you could go to the fallout shelter, and there would be enough provisions there for 2 weeks, waiting for the fallout to settle and become not as dangerous. So there's a whole lot of films about the basics of that, and this is about people that would be excuse me, civil defense wardens who would help guarantee the planning, working with property owners who have appropriate fallout shelter things, the staff, all that stuff. So this is related to the bureaucracy of running a fallout shelter. So enjoy.
Let's go. I haven't seen you. I haven't got time. Why couldn't this happen on a drive? It's rough on all right. Come on, Jordan. Come on, buddy. Keep it moving. Keep it moving. Step right on inside. That's right. Step right on inside. You find a seat right on there. I haven't seen him yet, but he better hurry. We're filling up fast. How many in there now? I have 21. Have a seat right inside. Have a seat right inside. Here we go. All right, careful. Don't slip. Give it to him. Here we go. Set that right inside the door, will you please? And then pick up another load. I count 23. How many do you have?
23, check.
23. Guess that's right. We're getting filled up. Move in. You're next here. Step right inside. There's some room there. Everything under control? Seems to be. All right, come along here. Hurry now. Okay, so far.
Find a place inside to settle down, and I'll be right in. How many do you have so far?
With your family, 26, plus the 3 of us.
Well, keep moving them in. I'll see how it's going.
One more thing, sir. Yes. I'm not sure, but I don't think all the staff members are here.
All right.
This is the shelter manager. His first job is to get the respect and confidence of the shelter occupants.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? My name is Bill Collins. I'm your shelter manager. I just want you to know that there is a manager, there is a plan, and there is a trained staff to administer it. Now, our entire staff hasn't arrived yet, but I'll introduce them to you when they do. In the meantime, please fill out these registration forms that are being passed around, and if you have any questions, you can ask one of the staff at a later time. Thank you very much.
Bill.
Yes.
Well, this is it.
It sure is. Did your family get in?
Yes, fine.
How does the health and sanitation team check out?
Well, we're setting up sanitation facilities. The medical supplies are all intact.
I'll be with you in a minute.
And we have a medical unit set up, so we're ready to take care of anybody who might become sick.
Now, I haven't seen Bill Cummings around here yet. Would you check out the water supply for him?
Right.
Fine. Now, what is it?
Sorry to bother you, sir. I just wanted to let you know I've reached control center.
Good.
And the radio checks out.
Well, now we'll see how well we've done our homework.
Yes, sir.
Well, we're filling fast.
Yes, I know.
I hope the rest of the staff gets here.
So do I, but we'll stick to the regular plan.
Okay.
And Charlie, try to keep them all busy.
Yes. Mr. Collins wants us to stick to the regular plan.
Oh, Mr. Collins?
Yes.
There's no radiation or anything here.
Fine, thank you.
They've been planning a long time, and all that time trying to foresee just what it would be like. This group is fortunate. They have planned well, and they have this, their shelter operations plan. The organization in black and white. The manager and his staff have recruited and trained their personnel and have anticipated every shelter function.
Mr. McCauley?
Yes.
Please. What's your count so far?
We have 57.
57, that's top. Our whole staff isn't here yet. Well, we're full.
Oh, George.
Well, gentlemen, I guess that indicates that good pre-attack organization doesn't guarantee that you'll have a full staff when the chips are down, does it?
No, sir, but the crowd seems to have settled down. Water, power, Ventilation are okay, and we are checking the food.
A good beginning. And some of the staff are here. 2 deputies, 2 of the 6 team leaders, plus a radef man, and 4 team members. It's a nucleus to build on. It's up to Manager Collins now.
Now, who didn't make it?
Supply and maintenance, information and training, safety, feeding.
Well, we'll have to find replacements for them. Oh, and speaking of feeding, Jim, would you see that the coffee's passed around as soon as possible?
Of course.
Now,
All right, Jim. Take it easy, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure it's only with a minor failure with the Heskel circuit. Ladies and gentlemen, please. Now, let's settle down, ladies and gentlemen. If I could have your attention, please. Will you be quiet, please? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? Let's settle down. We'll have lights in a minute. Just sit tight, and we'll locate the trouble. You know the old saying, if you hear the thunder, you haven't been hit. Well, we're in the dark, but we're still here. Now, while we're waiting for the lights, I'm going to tell you how you and I are going to survive during our shelter stay. We're going to do it because we are organized to do it. We have an operations plan that I feel is...
An organized plan may seem too rigid to cope with the unexpected, but it's up to the manager and the staff to apply it with flexibility, to roll with the unexpected, as when the lights go out.
I assure you that they are ready for immediate use. Now, shelter living is different. We can't have all of our comforts here, but I'm sure that we all brought along our willingness to respect others, our wish for safety and our desire for order. Now, to this end, we have a trained staff to help make your stay in this shelter livable for us all. Now, one of our very first jobs is to find among you qualified people to round out our organization. So please let us know on your registration forms about your skills and occupation, just exactly what it is you do, because we need your help. Later on, we'll have discussions about how to live in a shelter. Thank you very much.
Well, that certainly was clear to us. Yes.
Just one other thing, folks. We are in touch with the control center downtown, and so far, there is no word of fallout in the city. I'll keep you informed. Thanks again.
Staffing shelter life with a skeleton staff is another of those unexpected things. But again, if you have a plan, you're ready for it. It's prepared pre-attack and serves as a guide for management. Among other things, it provides general information on the organization of the shelter and of the staff. It should include the Office of Civil Defense Guide for Community Fallout Shelter Management, an ever-ready refresher on management practice. Here should be filed a letter from town officials. It should be posted prominently in the shelter to provide visible evidence of the manager's authority as legally vested in him. The map shows locations of control centers and other public shelters. They are also ready in case any of their staff members don't make it. They have checklists of the things to be done by the shelter manager and by each staff member. The organization chart gives the names of the staff members and the succession of authority. A brief description of the duties of the shelter staff should also be included in the shelter operations plan. Staff quality, training, and planning will determine the success of the survival effort. The size of the staff is determined by the shelter, its size, arrangement, and its special problems. In this shelter, some people could double up their duties, but there is a team for every function to keep as many people busy as possible. But regardless of its size, every shelter is directed by a manager. He administers the shelter operations plan or program and coordinates the activities of his staff and shelter occupants. He is the leader in a democratic system. Under the manager are the functional teams that carry out management decisions. One is the health and sanitation team. This team provides medical aid and maintains the health and sanitation of the shelter. A safety team prevents and fights fires, maintains order, and provides for escape in emergencies. Supply and maintenance provides supplies for shelter living and proper engineering maintenance. The feeding team has responsibility for the care and handling of food and setting up facilities for preparing and serving the food. The bunking team provides a sleeping plan, decides on bunking arrangements, and has charge of cots and blankets where available. The communications team sends and receives various types of messages and keeps a communications log. Information and training keeps shelter occupants informed of happenings inside and outside the shelter, and keeps them engaged in training and special activities, and appeals to the intellect and spirit to maintain morale. And finally, a special group of trained people maintains a radiological watch, monitoring the shelter space and its environs to assure continued information on radiation levels. These functions are the same in any shelter. Only the organization may vary with the size of the shelter. Leaders of the teams report to deputies of the manager, and between them work out routine, day-by-day problems, leaving the manager free for matters of major policy. Of course, shelters will have a wide variety of shapes and sizes. Here's the organization of a shelter with many rooms. Teams operate in each room and report to their room deputies. They in turn report to the shelter deputies, who report to the manager. Other shelters will have one or more large rooms for, say, 1,000 shelter occupants each. Managing this number of shelter occupants would take still another organization and staff. The smallest group in a shelter is the unit, consisting of 10 persons. These units are organized into sections of 10 units or 100 persons. The largest group in the shelter is a division, consisting of 3 to 5 sections or 300 to 500 persons. From these examples, you can see that the community must organize and staff shelters to suit their needs, configuration, size, and population. However, even with this pre-attack preparation, all of your regular staff may not be present. Selecting from those actually in the shelter becomes necessary.
Well, it looks like an interesting group, huh, John?
Yes, sir. There's plenty of talent here, Mr. Collins. And varied, too. Hotel man, cook, policeman, a minister, a gym instructor, and a folk singer.
Well, that's fine. This will help. Now, I should think that out of this group, we'd be able to find people to fill the vacancies rather readily.
Well, we're pretty well squared away. Wouldn't you like to complete the staff?
All right, let's get at it.
Somebody I want you to meet first. Mr. Bernard. Mr. Bernard, I want you to meet Mr. Collins. Mr. Bernard fixed the lights.
Well, we owe you a lot, Mr. Bernard.
Well, I'm an electrician. You see, Mr. Collins, I noticed how the lights went out. I knew it wasn't a power failure because in a power failure, the lights get dim and then go out. So I looked up your deputy here.
A bad fuse.
Well, we're lucky to have you, Mr. Bernard. Now, we need someone to head up our supply and maintenance team. And I can see by your registration form that you certainly qualify.
Right.
Would you do it?
Okay.
Very good. Mr. Fellows here will show you our floor plan and equipment. And I think you'll find that our maintenance is fairly well organized, but we need experience and help. Thanks for getting us out of the dark.
Come with me, Mr. Bernard.
So Manager Collins begins to select staff members from shelter occupants and fill the positions of those who did not arrive.
Mr. Collins, I'd like you to meet a good prospect for taking over feeding.
Oh, fine.
Excuse me. This is Mrs. Dyer. She runs the cafeteria over on Fulmer Street.
Well, I'm happy to know you, Mrs. Dyer. I guess by now you understand that we have a feeding problem here.
Oh, this isn't very many people. We're used to cooking for 350 every day just for lunch.
Well, that's the kind of experience we need. We have a community shelter food plan. Some food has been brought in already, but we don't know how much yet.
I've looked, but it isn't very much.
Well, excuse me, Mrs. Dyer.
Really?
We have federal stocks of food stored here. Now, this will provide a balanced diet more than adequate for our survival.
Why, that's a wonderful idea. It will give us a great deal of variety, and I can think of several ways to use it.
Well, that's what we need, Mrs. Dyer, imagination. Will you take charge of the feeding?
I'd be glad to.
Now, you'll have to decide on portion sizes. I'd try to plan for 2 weeks if possible. And you can check with Mr. Stevens here. He'll tell you how our feeding plan is organized. I'm sure you'll have some good suggestions.
All right, Mr. Collins, don't worry about it.
Thank you, Mrs. Dyer.
Whether it's feeding, supply and maintenance, or any other shelter function, there are plenty of willing non-professionals. But look for the experts first. They have the added experience of working under pressure, as well as the required skills. Then, after they are chosen, the shelter operations plan, description of duties, and an inventory of the available supplies can be used to help orient them. Speedy staff selection will add to the confidence in management.
So 1963, wow, yeah, that's pretty great. I mean, the thing to think about, well, one, I like the euphemism of the thunderstorm for why people are in the shelter. Maybe that's, at first I thought it was like a tornado drill or something like that, but they do talk about fallout later. But the idea that, you know, you hear the air raid siren, and you basically go to the shelter nearest you, and you don't rush to find your family, where your wife is at home, probably, and your kids are at school, probably. They all go to their separate places. And so the theory is that you go and you're there for 2 weeks, and you're not sure what's going on with the other people. Hopefully there's some radio communication that say, you know, where they start sharing lists of who's in the shelter, which is, you know, why they had people fill out their name to register. But yeah, the dynamics of it is just, it's just kind of crazy. And certainly, does it work now? I mean, we, you know, being stuck for 2 weeks. I mean, this is like a, you know, reality show, but in real life. But it's fascinating, all the bureaucracy that flows in, like the flow chart and the lists and all the, you know, all that stuff. And it's true, you know, you need it, but it's kind of funny. All right, here's another film that is addressing a public safety issue, but is one that is not related to an atomic weapon. This is pedestrians, learning how to be a safe pedestrian. Or is this film for drivers regarding pedestrians? I can't remember which way it goes, because I have so many pedestrian films. All right, enjoy.
When you're behind the wheel, pedestrians seem to fill the street. When you're a pedestrian, cars always seem to be in the way. Since nearly 1/4 of all people killed in traffic accidents are pedestrians, drivers should be aware of the special hazards they present. Many accidents involving pedestrians are the result of the pedestrian doing the wrong thing. But a good driver is an alert driver. He makes sure that he drives at a reasonable speed in every situation, so that he can stop short of an accident no matter what the pedestrian may do. A skillful driver looks for different kinds of clues in certain situations to tip himself off on the next possible move by pedestrians. You should learn to look for these kinds of clues. Obstructed views. Conditions such as darkness or slippery roads, which make it harder to stop your car. Intersections and crosswalks. Warning signs. And places where crowds of people may be waiting to cross the road. When you are driving next to a row of parked cars, you must drive slowly enough to stop in case a pedestrian should suddenly step out into your path. The clue to a potentially unsafe situation might be a bus or streetcar which is stopped to load or unload passengers. Sometimes your view of the traffic light will be hidden by a bus or truck at the curb. Take the clue from the hidden view and proceed with caution. Those people on the corner can see the light, and they assume that you can too. It's usually not safe to get out of a parked car on the driver's side. Make it a habit to slide over and get out on the curb side. Whoa there! You're becoming a pedestrian now, remember? Make sure little brother moves out of the driveway before getting into the car. From our vantage point here, we can see quite clearly, but you can't see as well from your position at the wheel. A small child or pet could easily be hidden from your view. Play it safe and take a few extra steps to make sure the driveway is clear. Country driving is faster. Consequently, you can't stop as quickly, and you're by a pedestrian almost before you know it. It's smart for a pedestrian to walk against traffic, so he can see approaching cars on his side of the road. On the other side of the road, he can't see the cars till they're passed. Not all pedestrians do the smart thing, so it pays to drive more cautiously here. And pedestrians may look normal, but they may have a physical handicap. At night, your stopping time is limited by the distance you can see. A pedestrian ought to carry a light or wear light-colored clothing at night. But again, not all of them do. The bright glare of the headlights often makes the pedestrian think that the driver can see him as soon as he sees the car, but that's not so. Anytime the road is slippery, your safe driving speed is below what it would be in good weather. When you see a car ahead parked next to the road, be prepared to stop. Someone might cross from the other side of the road. Watch both sides. Keep your speed down. Any intersection is a clue to be on the alert. People crossing the street are frequently more interested in a bargain at the market than they are in a safe walk across the street. A pedestrian should be especially careful to look out for cars making turns at intersections. This driver combines courtesy with his driving skill. Signs like these are designed to help you drive safely. If you disregard them, you may be involved in an accident. Pedestrians are subject to traffic controls too, and in many places, they may be fined for traffic violations. While both the driver and the walker should be alert at all times, it is the responsibility of the driver of the powerful heavy vehicle to avoid a collision with a pedestrian. Courtesy and good judgment, combined with alert attention to traffic signs, will almost guarantee you a lifetime of accident-free driving. In most states, it is illegal to pass a school bus, which is stopped to pick up or unload children. It is usually illegal to pass the bus in either direction. Do you know the law in your state? It is especially important to be alert when there is a crowd of people near the roadside. Many pedestrians are not drivers. They don't know how long it takes a driver to stop a car. Glaring headlights make it hard for the pedestrian to judge a safe time to cross the road. Some people can't make up their minds. If you're not extra careful, they may run out right into your path. Make it safe for them and for yourself. Take it easy. Even during daylight hours, you have to pay full attention. Here's a clue. You can't be too careful where children are concerned. Little boys and girls are often very good about staying out of the street, but they don't expect a car to invade their play area. Expect them to do the unexpected every time. Remember that alertness and driving know-how are required to avoid accidents involving pedestrians. Look for the clues, which may help you keep out of trouble. As we have seen, many pedestrians can't always be counted upon to watch out for themselves. They need your help when you're behind the wheel, and your example when you are a pedestrian yourself.
So great. Yeah, so this was made for drivers and not for pedestrians. I got one last film on the telecine, and where is it? This is A Day Late and $1 Short. These are public service announcements by H&R Block for tax season. And I had these, and I couldn't find them, but they were misfiled, so I got them. So if you have filed for an extension, maybe these will help. And you get to see Mr. Block, Howard Block. All right, so enjoy.
Contributions to charity are some of the most frequently overlooked tax deductions. In addition to gifts of cash, items such as used clothing or furniture are also deductible at fair market value. If you use your car for church work, scouts, or other charities, deduct 6 cents a mile. Gifts of stocks, bonds, or works of art may greatly reduce your tax burden. However, be sure you keep records to back up all claims. Here's good news for taxpayers who use credit cards for purchases. Amounts levied as finance charges on revolving charge accounts are fully deductible according to an Internal Revenue Service ruling. Simply by keeping track of these charges on your monthly statements, you may substantially reduce your tax. This tax saving is retroactive for 3 years. If you have not taken this deduction before, you may file for a refund for prior years. If you are divorced and have children from a previous marriage, and if you are remarried, amounts contributed by your new spouse for the support of your children are considered as being furnished by you in determining major support for the children. There are various effects which this ruling has on divorced parents, and every concerned taxpayer in this situation should investigate these rules. Again this year, taxpayers have the option of filing the regular 1040 long form or the 1040A short form. Care should be used in exercising this option. The IRS has carefully stated that the short form has limitations. It does not offer the deduction advantages of the long form. Deductions such as medical expenses, charitable contributions, interest, taxes, casualty losses, child care expenses, and many others are not available to users of the short form. The long form allows for adjustments to income, such as excludable sick pay, moving expense, and employee business expense. Also lacking on the short form are valuable tax credits, including retirement income and investment credits. Before you use the short form, be sure you're not costing yourself money. Taxpayers who move from one location to another because of their job are often entitled to certain tax advantages. To qualify, you must meet the 50-mile distance and the full-time requirements. Taxpayers who qualify for the moving expense deduction may take the cost of moving to the new job and house hunting trips prior to the move within certain limits. Expenses of selling or leasing the old residence, as well as the new one, are also deductible within certain limits. If you move to a different state, you may have additional problems of how to handle moving expenses. The moving expense deduction is a welcome tax break. Remember, the reimbursement is income, and to avoid paying the tax on this, you must claim the necessary deduction. Mother Nature is sometimes responsible for creating disasters. Our tax system offers a helping hand to the victims. You may deduct the loss from a disaster occurring this year on last year's tax return, even though it has already been filed. Here's how it works. You file your 1973 tax return by April 15th. In July 1974, you suffer a casualty loss by tornado, hurricane, flood, and so forth. And the President proclaims that you're in an official disaster area. You have the option of deducting the loss on next year's tax return or on your 1973 return, even though it has already been filed. Simply file an amended return. Should such a disaster occur in 1974, prior to filing your 1973 return, you may still include the loss on your 1973 tax return. If you are retired or age 65 or over, there are special tax laws which are to your advantage. One important benefit is that certain types of retirement income, such as pensions and annuities, are not completely taxable. Also, with certain qualifications, your tax may be reduced by a credit of 15% of your retirement income. This credit is doubly important because it's a direct dollar-for-dollar reduction of your tax liability. If you sell your residence for more than you paid, you may be able to exclude all of the gain. And in addition, you are entitled to a double personal exemption. These are some of the tax breaks you qualify for by being 65 years old or retired. There are many other benefits that can greatly ease your tax burden. You should seek competent tax help. The common term child care can be misleading because the deduction for this applies not only to dependent children under age 15, but also to the care of a disabled dependent of any age. If these expenses are caused because of your job, you may deduct for the care of the dependent as well as expenses for household services such as a maid or cook. You can even deduct expenses for a day school, nursery, or care in another home. For care outside the home, the deduction can be as much as $200 a month for one child, $300 for two, and $400 for three or more. Your income level can be as much as $18,000 before limitations begin. Many taxpayers will have the benefit of an itemized deduction for child care expenses, up to a maximum of $4,800.
Thank you, Mr. Block, for all of those things of advice. I mean, this is skirting the, public service announcement, basically saying like, oh, we're giving free tax advice, so we should be able to get free advertising. Of course, advertising the fact that we know how to do taxes. So if you are flummoxed by taxes and tax season, then you can use us. What is interesting is, TurboTax, I hate those guys so much, mostly because of their, what we call bait and switch, where they offer free tax, doing your taxes for free, but then kind of add on this extra stuff that it's not free. They also actively have lobbied Congress to make it harder for the IRS to offer free tax services online, to where you can list your stuff free. They make it to where it's more difficult. They make it to where it's kind of weird, and it's like, why do we have to pay to do our taxes? Like, that doesn't make any sense. I mean, maybe pay if you have difficult taxes, but really most people don't need to do that. And so TurboTax is pretty evil regarding that. All right, so that's my soapbox. I should say that we have done our, where is it? I'm trying to find it. Our toe tapping tournament. So we did our first 2 rounds. Here it is. And would love for you, because I'm seeing new people all the time, or new, faces I haven't seen in a while. Would love for you to vote. Watch round 1 and round 2, and would love for you to vote on the toe tapping songs that we will take to challenge the Found Footage Festival. And so we're on Monday. Katrina, my wife's going to come back, and we're going to count up the votes, and we will announce the 8 candidates, and then you will vote for the final 4. Then we're going to take those 4 and we're going to compete against the Found Footage Festival. And so behind me is, actually I'll just pull it off the wall. We talked about the stakes with Found Footage Festival today. They love this painting. They want it. I don't want them to have it. Last year they had this commissioned. This is from the Club, which is a cable access show from Durham that I turned them on to. And so we won this last year. Now, they want both of these items. So if they win, this is what they get. And we are fighting against that. And we were trying to come up with, like, what do we get if we win? And one of them was, I would say that for a year, they need to announce, whenever they do their VCR party thing, that they announce themselves, and then they say that they were beaten by AV Geeks again. The other thing that we've proposed, that my assistant has come up with, is that they come down to North Carolina and they recreate this painting so that they dress as clowns and they serve the AV Geek staff a Thanksgiving meal. That's what I think we're going for, that because that is brilliant, and it would give me such pleasure to see them serve us a Thanksgiving meal dressed as these clowns, as these Thanksgiving clowns, each one of them in white makeup, clown makeup, one with a pilgrim hat, a delicious pie, and some turkey. So, if you have some other ideas of what you think we should get instead of that, because they seem to be on board with it, because they think it's ludicrous enough that it might be real good. But I need you to vote. I need your voice to come out. We have some really strong competitors, but I want to make sure that we have a really strong showing and a really good vote, because we have less than 30 votes, and there's so many more of you out there. So please, you have until Sunday to watch the rounds and vote. So you'll email me. You'll watch the rounds. You'll email me. Then Monday we'll go from 8 to 4, or we'll go from 16 to 8, and then we'll have you vote on the final 4, and then that will be what we will take to utterly decimate and humiliate the Found Footage Festival guys, and we will definitely document it and show it on the show. Them dressed as clowns, eating Thanksgiving meal, or serving us a Thanksgiving meal. And one of them asked me, Joe asked me, like, so do you have any food allergies? And I'm like, okay, we're gonna provide the food. Because I'll right off the bat, I was like, uh-oh, what are they gonna introduce to our food to make us pay? So if you have already voted, thank you so much. Likewise, thanks for tuning in and commenting. It's always great to show films and have people watch and actively participate in the viewing. You can also hit the thumbs up button, the like button. Any of those things are wonderful ways to say, we like AV Geeks, and we want them to do well. You can also buy us coffee at ko-fi.com/avgeeks. But, yeah, so if you haven't voted yet, I'll put it in the comments one more time. And this is the big deal. So we need your help, and we know you can do it. And the votes have been good so far, but there's some that are right on the fence, and I feel like we can push them over the edge. All right, everybody have a great weekend, and we will come back on Monday, and we will do that competition that we were talking about, and we'll watch some more 60mm films. Now, I should say, at 3 o'clock, I'm going to have one of the librarians from the Hunt Library at NC State, and kind of tangentially related to Earth Day, we're going to talk about small engines. We're going to talk about lawnmowers, we're going to talk about scooters, very tangentially related. And I'll see if I can figure out a way to make it more relevant. But, maybe it doesn't have anything to do with Earth Day. But 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time is when we'll do that. So hopefully I'll see you then. If not, I will see you Monday. Everybody take care.